indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All please remain standing for a brief moment of silence. Thank you. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Here.
Commissioner Vogler?
Here.
Commissioner Boyd?
Here. I'll note that we're being live streamed right now. It's being broadcast out to our YouTube channel. I'll also note that you are being recorded internally for our purposes in compiling the minutes. And to that end, anybody having business before the board, you'd be able to please approach the bench and speak plainly and clearly into that microphone so we can pick it up internally. We are writing the great American novel today. This
I
packet.
thought we did that last week, 2 weeks ago, right?
This is the thickest packet I think I've ever seen. It's what's up there. And so we're gonna try to get through this pretty expeditiously, but just a fair warning for our viewer, this is gonna take some time. Row officer reports and comments. I'm looking out at the audience today. The only person here that probably could be construed as a row officer or representative thereof is Director Micko with JPO representing Port Administration. Pat, you have anything above and beyond what's already on the agenda?
Nothing less.
Beautiful, thank you. Public comments. Anybody here wish to make public comment? Always a good sign. Fiscal and contractual. We have, there's like 2 repository properties up today. One is Meyer Avenue, 2 is Sharp Street. Vanessa, what's the first one?
It'll be 211.
211. And I'll note that it looks like this was approved by the school district. Vanessa, was this approved? No, municipality did not approve, but it did not deny either, which is signifying that it approves, at least legally speaking. But it was approved by the municipality, or by the school district. Resolution reads now therefore be resolved by Lawrence County Board of Commissioners.
Did I interrupt? That wasn't that, if it's true. Clear my throat.
The board is authorized, I screwed something up already.
No.
Board is authorized to execute the bid acceptance form made by Tricia Lee Hutchinson in the amount of $500 for property located at East Meyer Avenue, parcel ID number 25-232400, Neshannock Township. I will take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. Motion second, any further discussion? Hearing none, question on the motion, all in favor, please. Do we do up and down, or Vanessa, how have we done that? I forget. Do we do voice vote, or do we do?
Yeah, I call roll.
Call roll.
Okay, Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. 212, City of Newcastle, I note this was denied. The bidder owes back taxes, which is a legitimate, I understand it's a legitimate reason for denial. And the school district did not respond. This is Sonia Stanley, bid of $1,000 for property located at 10 West Sharp Street, parcel ID number 08-029800, City of Newcastle. I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second, with a minor correction. If you look on the back of the resolution, it states that the city of Newcastle did not return their request. That should read the Newcastle Area School District.
Okay. Change that. We do a motion to second, any further discussion? So changes Dan mentioned, and Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
No.
Commissioner Vogler?
No.
Commissioner Boyd?
Nope.
Motion fails.
Thank you. No advertising for bids and proposals, no receipt of bids and proposals. We may have some resolutions further in here to proceed with bids. Actually, it probably should be in that section moving forward, but we'll deal with that next time we do bids. We do have warrant registers from August 10th, August 9th, August 8th, August 5th, August 3rd, and July 29th. Give my colleagues probably more than a minute to check those over.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Approval of minutes from Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022, which was our last public meeting. I'll note that, Loretta had CCAP last week, and as a result, we do not have meetings on weeks when the County Commissioners Conference is occurring. So I'll give my colleagues a minute to check those over and then take a motion to accept and or approve the minutes or make any changes necessary.
So moved.
Second, motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Mercifully, there are no presentation of written communications. Staff reports. Is there any member of staff here that has anything to report above and beyond what's already on the agenda? Thank you. Commissioner reports and comments. Loretta, you're on deck first. Floor is yours.
Okay, very good. Just briefly, I wanted to give an update on the opioid settlement. We have been speaking about it a couple of different meetings, and we've had meetings ourselves with all of our agencies and stakeholders. What we thought the monies were going to be front-loaded for the first couple of years. Lawrence County is eligible as receiving $6.8 million over 18 years. And the first understanding was that we would receive the bulk of the money over the first 2 years. So therefore, we set our plans, or the beginnings of our plans, focused on that. However, it has changed in the way the monies are going to be distributed. And they will be more evenly distributed over the next 18 years, with one exception that as of right now, we did have a CCAP call with the Attorney General's office that we will be getting the first 2-year payments this year. We're expected with basic paperwork that Joe and I have been talking on with the controller, with my fellow commissioners, that we would just fill the paperwork out to receive our first check, hopefully by August 31st. And then later on in the year, the second one could be coming through. The amounts of monies that we do have coming in over the first couple of years, I have the totals for all of the 18 years if anybody would like to see it. But our first installment would be $281,000. And then our second installment is a bit larger, $523,000, and we should be getting that by the end of the year. However, things could change. The trust is still being established, everything getting together, but the monies are there to be distributed. Without going into a lot of detail, it's a fluid situation, but the thing is that the monies are going to be coming directly to the counties. There's no middleman, there's no, legislature involved with it. A trust has been set up. The monies will go directly there as they come in from the different distributors and Johnson & Johnson. And there are actually other litigants that we don't have settlements for yet. But we do have the monies from Johnson & Johnson and the distributors. So those monies are guaranteed to be in. And we should have approximately over $750,000 to work with for the first year, and then decide how we're going to fund different programs from there. So I'm happy to hear that we are moving forward with it, and we'll be having monies coming in to be able to enhance our drug prevention programming, addiction program, and things like that for Lawrence County. That's it.
Thank you for the point on that, staying on top of that. Much appreciated.
You got it.
I have two things, one brief and the other written, just a written statement. Number one, yesterday was the opening of the Lawrence County Fair. The official ribbon cutting was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday.
Yesterday.
And I'll note that Dan and Loretta had the opportunity to attend, and I saw that the picture was a nice picture of formally cutting the ribbon. I just wanted to know the reason for my absence. I would have been there. We had a meeting that had been scheduled for over a month now. There's a very, very, very large company, actually based out of Florida, that is looking to come into, maybe specifically Lawrence County, Western Pennsylvania. And the representatives from that company flew up yesterday to meet with myself. Leslie Oshie from Butler County was there. Representatives from the governor's office in Harrisburg were there. DEP, DCED, and some other staff members with SPC were all part of that meeting to try to figure out how to best accommodate this company. So I wanted to note that for the record. give a reason why I was unable to attend the fair yesterday. We didn't want to reschedule it, people coming flying,
Sure, oh,
flying in from
absolutely.
different places.
And it happens.
Yeah,
And
yes,
it's,
that's why there's three.
right, absolutely.
The other thing which is significant, I'll have a written statement here that I'll read, is that it pains me to report that the RIDC Mahoning deal, which has been in the works for over a year, is on its last legs. For context, the Schick family sold the property for which RIDC is currently negotiating in the early 2010s, but retained a restrictive land covenant on the property. That restrictive land covenant prohibits the development of an RIDC office park or a large-scale distribution center, both of which are currently under consideration with potential companies identified as prospective tenants. Interestingly, the argument against the development of those uses at this site relates to the increased activity that would be generated by the development of the site. However, the covenant allows for uses such as a casino, which would generate substantially more activity, noise pollution, light pollution, and traffic than any of RIDC's proposed uses. For the past several months, RIDC has been negotiating with the Schick family, Carmen, Kendra, and Ken, and their attorneys, John DeCaro, Mark Hamilton, and Jim Manolis, to either abolish the restrictive land covenant entirely or adjust it to allow for the development of a new office park or distribution facility. RIDC has been willing to accommodate protections against excess noise, traffic, or light pollution to meet the Schick's concerns. However, negotiations have stalled, and if they remain stalled for another few weeks, RIDC has directly stated to the Board of Commissioners they will have to cut their losses and pull out of the deal. Mahoning Township, Mohawk Area School District, County of Lawrence, RIDC, and our utility providers are all ready to go on this project, which has the potential to generate more economic impact for our county than any development since Carnegie Steel. The only holdup right now is the Schick family and their restrictive land covenant. The Schicks have a tremendous opportunity to be the heroes of this story, sit back down with RIDC, negotiate in earnest, and secure this development for our community. I would implore them to do so, and in doing so, create the most positive economic development Lawrence County has seen in generations. I'm sure there will be more to report in the next coming weeks. But that concludes my comments, and I'll turn it over to Dan for his.
Thank you. Well, I think we've covered enough this morning, so I'm ready to move forward. Thank you.
I'll just add, we did have a great conference at CCAP. That was good while we were gone. A lot of good information was passed along. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Up next, this is where we write the novel. We've got 4 resolutions for our Mental Health and Developmental Services Department, Director Baldwin. You'd be able to approach the bench. And Vanessa, what's the resolution number for the?
Start with 213.
213. Thank you. So we've got 213, 214, 215, 216. Unless there's any objections after Scott's done sort of going through what we're doing here, we'll take those all in bulk. Scott, okay.
Yeah, these are 3 easy ones. First one is a contract between Lawrence County, MHDS, and Iron and String Life Enhancement. This is a renewal. They provide home and community for our developmental services, as well as provide transportation. They're located just over the line there in Louisville, Ohio. The next one is for A&R. It's Alliance for Nonprofit located in Butler County. They will provide investigation services for us, and they also provide transportation. Again, this is another renewal for us. Third is Alleghenies Unlimited, located in Johnstown, PA. And again, it's a home and community respite for developmental services. All 3 are renewals. The fourth is a new contract with Children's Advocacy Center. This is a mental health contract. Again, these all run from fiscal year July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023. Children's Advocacy really does community for a long time. We do a lot of
Yes.
trauma-based, trauma-informed care. This contract is to supplement some of those trauma services that aren't covered under a grant you can only get. Of course, expenses are up with all of the providers. We don't want to see that service get impacted. So we're supplementing with the base numbers. I'm going to give you the budget amounts on all 3 of these quickly. That way, okay. So for A&R,
3 or 4?
I have 4.
Okay, I did.
So for iron and string, the contract amount is for $30,000. For A&R, contract amount is for $55,000. For Alleghenies Unlimited, the contract amount is $50,000. And for Children's Advocacy Center, the contract is for $27,684. Again, these are all paid through block grant funding at no cost.
Questions, comments, response?
No.
Take a motion to approve 213 through 216.
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Steelvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next question.
Okay, thank you.
Up next, Superintendent / Board Molmeister. We've got a number of 3 resolutions, looks like, for consideration for the jail. These will be to, I always put the,
17.
thank you, 217, 218, and 219. We'll be taking these separately, assuming they receive votes. So first on deck, we have resolution for discussion possible approval enter a contract with Stanley Security. What do we have going on here?
With our camera system, we were looking to put it out for bid on the actual camera system itself.
So with, and maybe we have potentially have the wrong resolution in front of us. This is entering into a contract
Right,
with Stanley Convergent Security Services, which my understanding is they're one of the people we've gotten a quote from,
right.
but we haven't actually put out for bid
It has
yet.
to be put out for bid. Right.
Do we have bid docs on that?
In the this packet.
Loretta, I'm gonna turn to, I mean, we can always amend this resolution to allow for taking it out to bid. But Loretta, I'm gonna turn it over, what are you, just as prison board?
It is, right, it is. I know we have to put it out for bid. This is something that is definitely, we need to have it. So if we do need to table this or not take action on it at this point in time and then come back for it to do the bids, I don't know what you want to do.
You know what?
Because I thought it was actually just attempting to get the bids,
I'm
not a
looking-
particular one.
I'm looking at the agenda, I don't even think we can amend it because of the change to the Sunshine Act.
Okay,
This is showing
You're right,
entering into
you're
a
right.
contract with Stanley Security versus entering into, or taking it out to bid,
right.
which, you know, last thing
Yeah.
I wanna do is be in violation of the Sunshine Act.
So then my suggestion would be that we
Just don't,
vote it down.
yeah, sure.
We'll vote it down and then we'll move forward from there. Unless, Dan, you
No,
heard the senior
I-
statesman here, do you think that is
No, I
best?
think the fact that it's been posted as such,
Yeah,
we have no choice but to vote it down, but with the understanding
it
that,
will,
that the action we're taking is not necessarily a negative action against
Right.
this particular
we
company.
can't take it with the company at this point in time.
They may bid, and they may be the ultimate low bidder and lowest responsible bidder. So eventually, we may be taking positive action on this, but at this point in time, I think we have no choice but to do this.
Right,
All right, so I will take a motion to approve, we did the same thing we did with the repositories, 217.
so moved.
Second,
Good motion, second, any further discussion, hearing none, question on the motion, Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Steelvogel?
No.
Commissioner Vogler?
no,
Commissioner Boyd?
No,
Motion fails.
thank you. Up next, resolution for discussion possible approval to enter into a contract with Keith Commissary Network, and what do we have going on here?
You know, contract stars, you get this walk in, I'm just.
And pardon my ignorance on this, we don't have to take this one out for bid.
This is a renewal of the contract.
Still take it out for bid.
Never happened.
Never have in the past. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with it. Does the solicitor check this over?
Yes.
Okay, then I'm good with it. Dan, what are your thoughts?
as long as the solicitor is comfortable with this action, then I'm okay.
Okay. All right, I'll take a motion to approve 218.
So moved.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Steelvogel?
Yes,
Commissioner Vogler?
yes,
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. And now we have 219, which is discussion of possible approval of adopt transitioning policy at the Lawrence County Corrections.
I'm looking to get a policy in place, to adopt the transition policy. Transgender.
here's the question I have for this. Is this a prison board vote
You read my mind.
Mhm.
as opposed to a commissioner vote because the policy
It's
of
a
prison?
policy issue.
And believe me, I know county government's confusing as hell. I still don't understand all of it. But, you know, it's,
The more I'm looking at it, I think it should go before full prison board.
which is no big deal because we have it
Right.
tomorrow. And we can get it on the agenda and pass it tomorrow. But yeah, my understanding, any policy decisions, we handle the money, but any policy
Right.
decisions that come out of, that are implemented for the jail need to be done through prison board as opposed to board of commissioners.
And I'll take, right, I recommended that it come before the commissioners because of the policy that it was, but we'll vote it down here and then bring it up at prison board for a meeting for tomorrow.
Mhm.
Yeah, I thought policies such as that would have to go before us.
Could I respectfully suggest that we table this? Because I don't want to be on record as necessarily opposing this.
Okay,
I prefer to
let's table it and see.
Then if the prison board approves it, then it becomes a moot point. If you're both
Okay.
okay with it.
Let's do that.
And
Yes.
I don't know, just for clarity's sake, Ward, your past managerial experience comes from the state, correct?
Yes.
Which again is a much different system than the
Different
counties.
piece, yes.
And so, you know, you're.
It's hard enough for us to understand.
You're definitely right on that.
Yeah, it's, you're on you're doing a great job in terms of operations over there.
Yes.
You're just sort of, I would say you're on a clerical or administrative learning curve right now in terms of what boards to go to, how to do the bidding. I got full faith and confidence that.
And listen, when you put something like this together to this extent, I mean, that it's complimentary to you and we'll work through it and get it done. And there's so many things that do need to be done that you're taking the bull by the horns and note that it's appreciated and we'll work through the little hiccups and get everything taken care of.
Commissioner, that's not all me.
I know that, I know, you have a great
Everybody
staff
pulls
there.
together and gets things done, so.
And we appreciate that. So these small hiccups, I'll apologize for my interpretations in them as well. We talk so much and do so many different things. It's like, check this or move that or do this, or this has to go through this board and that board. So I think I've clarified it enough. Maybe the way to go through it is prison board, everything, money's definitely to the commissioners. That's how we'll work. That's statement moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
But please continue.
County, when there's 20 different boards and 15
Yes.
different executives,
Oh,
you know, home rule sometimes looks more and more appealing,
oh,
but
yes.
that's another conversation for another
Good
time.
job well done with Alan.
We can get it straight.
Yes.
That will be
Yes.
good. You got the
Okay,
first.
so we'll vote to table this.
Yes, I'll take a motion to table 219.
So moved.
Second, we have a motion to second, any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion to table, Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Steelvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank
And
you.
then, Mr. Chairman, before the warden leaves, let me circle back, if I could, to the first issue
Yes.
of the cameras. I just want to make certain that the record reflects that this board is in agreement to move forward with the bidding process necessary.
Yes.
We'll take that formal vote next week, once we get everything straightened around. Move forward.
Because we'll have prison board
All right,
to present it to prison
All
board
right.
to move forward to the commissioners and we will vote on for next week.
because I know you're anxious to get this
Yes.
done.
Well, I also have a few other projects that I need to put out for bid. I have both the dates set.
Well, if you bring that as
All of them
both commissioners, bring those to the prison board meeting.
And then we'll move forward with them.
All right.
Get everything,
Very good.
any given Tuesday, you're in pretty good shape
Yes.
until the next either CCAP conference or probably, well, the CCAP conference will be the election first. Election.
Election.
Yeah, until the election, so you're good
Yeah.
until Tuesday.
We'll get them moving. Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, 220, Airport Authority. We have Mac Parat to be reappointed for a term commencing on June 1/22, expiring June 1/27. Lives in Neshannock Township, been a member since 2007. I'll note that well, I go to those meetings every once in a while. Mac's a phenomenal person. I have to vote no based on the campaign promise that I made when I ran for election. That being said, Mac's a great person, a good asset to that authority. Questions on that? Yeah, any questions? No. Before, this is a minor note, I believe we'll be having the airport authority, at least the chairman and our engineers with us in a public meeting here sometime next month, to go over with us and share with the public. The architectural is done for the potential new expansion of the terminal building. And we certainly want to showcase that, they put a lot of hard work into it.
Exciting,
So I'll take a motion to approve.
so moved.
Second, motion second, further discussion, hearing none, question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Steelvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, no, thank you. I appreciate the silence there. I do that every time. Every single time I do that. It's just you go to the rhythm
Yes,
thing, and
right.
you vote no so sparingly. Yeah, please record my vote as a no.
Motion carries 2-1.
Thank you. Appreciate you catching that for me. I was already on to the next one, which has Director McKinney. Thanks, guys. For our some additional small business funding.
Yes.
I'll note that the county received additional allocation of federal funding from the federal government, from the U.S. Department of Treasury. What we're doing here is we've reached out, or more accurately, Amy and the planning office reached out to businesses which applied for county business interruption grants previously, but for which we ran out of money. We didn't have enough out of the CARES fund to be able to provide for them. And this is sort of clearing our backlog of companies which responded to us and which are still in business. So Amy, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, basically what you said, these are, when the county received the extra funding under the American Rescue Plan Act, commissioners decided they wanted to allocate a certain portion of those funds to help the businesses we weren't able to help under the CARES Act. Under the CARES Act, we were hopeful that we would get some additional funds, so we did go back out to those businesses and did a third round in the event that we did receive extra CARES money. That didn't happen, but we kept that list. We reached out to everybody that was on that list that was still in business. And other ones that we received, we gave them a deadline. We received, I think, close to 28, I don't know the exact number, but it was back in time. Met all the requirements. They had our auditors take a look at everything to make sure that everything was in order. And the list is attached to your resolution. It adds up to almost $600,000 that we're able to fund. A majority of them are the full $25,000 that the commissioners had decided on under the CARES Act. There are some that are smaller amounts just because of the way their profits came in and their losses over the years that we asked them to provide. But they're all good. Happy to help them.
Absolutely. Thank you.
This list will be made public for anybody that wants to see it, as are any expenditures made out of the county. So if any of the news organizations wish, whether it be Debbie or Nick, wish to see the list, they need to be
Absolutely, give us a
prepared.
call, I can give them a list, when we are prepared, once the resolution is passed, send out the award letters to everyone that was successful in receiving funds.
Sounds good. Any questions, comments from the?
I'm just glad that we were able to accommodate those that, it was sad that we asked for applications before and then unfortunately we ran out of money. But so very, very glad that we were able to support those that are still in business, because unfortunately some did close their doors. But very happy to accommodate those that are still in business to be able to assist them now. Yes.
And again, just to clarify, we're using ARPA money for
Yes.
this. You have brought this in front of Corey Johnston and his organization, our auditors, who basically review what we propose to do, and they say, yep, that's within the
Yes.
limits of what we're allowed to do with these dollars. And then the third question would be, you indicated that you did have a good number of businesses that applied in a timely manner. Were there any applications that did come in after the deadline? You don't have to name them, but
No,
were
there were probably 3, and
okay.
and it wasn't even like the day after, it was like a week later, so
All right.
we didn't even take the time to look at them because we were very specific in our letter. When we sent it out, we gave everybody a good amount of time to respond, ask any questions, get their information into us. So no, they were not considered, and that was obviously, I brought that to your guys' attention.
Right.
We made that, you guys made that decision. And again, to clarify too, this was not, I did get a couple calls, this was not a new grant program. This was only people eligible were the ones that had applied under the CARES Act, and unfortunately we couldn't fund them under the CARES Act, but thankfully, the Sons of Allergy
Kind of on our waiting list.
Yeah, yes.
they were waiting us. And Dave Prescott and I have been working very closely together. There should be a transfer on the agenda to transfer those funds. We've worked very well on the timings of people to come in and either pick up their checks or they can actually have them electronically transferred to their bank accounts. And Dave and I have worked very closely on that too, so.
As always, thank you for your hard
Yes,
work.
thank you.
That clears that backlog. And we will continue to allocate those funds.
Yes,
I'll take a motion.
I was gonna say, we have to vote.
Yeah.
So moved.
Second, a motion second for discussion, here, none question, motion, Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you.
Thank you,
And,
Amy, for all your hard work. Thank you, you and staff.
next, we have 6 resolutions listed as JPO, and then
They're actually all statewide.
I all see why.
Okay.
But I can at least.
Chairs there for everybody? All right, so we've got, in that case, this will be a 222 through 232, and again, unless there are any objections, we'll take them all in bulk once
That's.
everything's
yes,
done
that's
here.
fine.
Thank you. So if you guys would be able to start at the top, and a brief synopsis is all that's necessary. We don't need to go into programmatic nuances. Just what it does and what's it gonna cost. Unless my colleagues want to dive into more detail on any specific one.
I warned them I can drag this out for a half hour.
He
more.
did.
I have, listen, I have the hook, Pat.
You've got the pointy elbow. When it's done, we're gonna go down through it.
Oh, there you go, Jonas.
He's got a cane over here, so he's gonna hit me with a cane. This becomes very commonplace, I've been doing this for so many years right now, that the biggest thing, and I'm gonna start with this, and I'm gonna start to go through my contracts. This year has probably been the biggest change with some of the per diem, the costs and the rationale for that. And a lot of it has to do with family first, a lot of it has to do with some other issues that, that JPO can't capitalize on, so we have to look at rates. One of the biggest problems that we're facing both in CYS and JPO throughout the Commonwealth is the closing of secure detentions. We're aware of all that. The reduction, a lot of placements have closed down wings of their programs where they're no longer having in service, so to find a shelter bed, to find any place becomes more and more difficult. And our people on the other end, or the receiving end, which are the service providers, are able to capitalize somewhat on that, because everyone's scrambling. So you see some things going up and down. So what we do in juvenile probation is we always look for the service has to match the need of the child specifically going in. And I know Judge Acker's adamant about that. I know Judge Hodge was adamant about that over years. And so in juvenile probation, we have to have some back pocket things right now. So are we gonna use the contracts? Not only if there's a need to, of course, and secondly, if there's a shortage of shelter beds, we've added a few things. City Mission, which is the first one on there, is we're using it primarily for shelter care. It has another array, but we found in our search that with City Mission, we may need them in the case of the shortage of shelter beds.
The only one that's really raising a red flag for me is pathways. What's going on there? It looks like we're jumping for most of these 140, 145, 135, we're getting pretty high into the 200s there.
I'll take this. You can take it. I mean, go ahead.
So Pathways for a number of years held their rate
Okay.
to where year over year, they didn't receive a percentage increase from us. And so their current rate, 226.23, you'll find is competitively priced in comparison to other programs. So their percentage increase is high, but their actual per diem per child per day falls on the lower end of the scale in comparison to Perseus House and a list of other providers. Pathways would be, by their per diem rate, one of the providers we look at early in our process of trying to place a child. either on the delinquency or the dependency side because of how competitive that rate is. But I want to say somewhere between 4 and 6 years, that the rate that was the baseline coming into this year,
Probably 10.
Yeah, hell.
Very neat where we're going to that, yeah.
yeah. So that's, I don't know if that answers the question, but
Well,
it's a high percentage increase.
That's what, I'm glad you provide these, by the way, these are useful.
Absolutely.
But you know, that makes sense to me, that they're still competitive,
They're
Based
so
on the market.
competitive.
based on the market.
And when I tell you, for us, when it comes to taking a kid, I have to tell you, they bend. And not that I want to overpay anybody because they aren't comparative, as John said. And if you go down all the contracts that Corsoft, these are all in-home services, community, all in-home services. These are things and they pretty much stay the same rate. We use those to deter having to remove a kid and place them in the first place. So those are nominal and those are small amounts. And community also actually under the grant, so it's a 90-10 match for the nurturing parent program. So kind of pays 10% of whatever we're paying in that particular thing. And as we go on to like Justice Works is the same thing. They're a just in case program is what I like to call them. They have a lot of services that should we lose. They have functional family therapy. They have community service people that'll come in, which we've had that structured and we do that anyway through other programming. They have truancy busting programs and we've handled that with both Cray and with Summit Academy for years. But anyway, if you get down to pathways is the one you pointed out. A lot of those are just in case pathways is the biggest difference that John explained. Their rates from off at 140 and 145 for about 10 years. And they probably needed to give themselves increases so that it wouldn't have been sticker shock all at once from year to there. And so that's a valid point. I appreciate John for explaining that.
Any questions, comments from my colleagues here?
I just want to say Pat brings up a very good point with the secure detentions. It is a huge dilemma where to place the delinquent kids charged, whether they be charged as an adult. And Dan is familiar. We had discussion with one of our fellow commissioners, several commissioners from Mercer County. I participated in a couple of Zoom calls trying to figure out what to do with the juveniles that need to go to secure detention that they've been charged with those crimes, because yes, the facilities are shut down and you have to find a place and you don't have the time to look around for something. So you have to have those just in case places ready for you to be able to.
We've really spanned out. In fact, we've had to look towards Ohio, which is already one of our contracts in Steubenville. Now we have another one that's just beyond that. We're working on getting a contract in place, but like I said, it's locally where we should have a securely detained juvenile. We're using group home settings, and that's where like Keystone or pathways.
Is George Jr., I believe they're ready for licensing to be secure, and they have 5 or 8 beds.
Some adult program that right now.
Okay.
Go secure. They were talking about going secure. I don't know. That was like talking to Josh Lester up in Mercer County, and we haven't seen that.
Okay.
It hasn't come to fruition. And the move towards going to secure just requires a lot of work to be done.
Yes,
Like
yes.
That's one of the issues.
One of the things that might be helpful from an administrative standpoint, from a contract management standpoint, if we'd be able to compile a list, I'm sure we have this, of all of the current contracts that we have out, all of our current providers, specifically what they do. So, what differentiates, Bethany Christian Services from Crossroads, and pricing associated with each one of those. I whenever you guys get a free moment, which I know is rare up at CYS, and at JPO, I'd like to, that'd be interesting to look at.
I will say this if I could. Mike has been thrown into this from nowhere, and he handles, as the CYS, they handle all contracts for JPO for delinquency. So there's a tough job on that. And he's really dug in, and I know they've negotiated some contract rates, which is good if you can keep them and you can hold it at a certain rate. We never realized that why should Allegheny County get any cheaper rate for the same facility for the same service that we are? And they have looked into that, And when I tell you they're looking into that, or they're questioning that, and they don't want to give you a straight answer right away, but it does take a little bit of pressure. We're in a new era of contract, and I disagree with it. I think the rate should be the rate for the kid for the service you're providing. And I will vehemently state that, in every voice and pulpit that I have, as long as I continue to be the director of juvenile, and involved with the state through the Juvenile Court Judges Commission.
Absolutely.
And Commissioner,
Thank
we do have, we have compiled the rates year over year. We went back, this most recent review, 1920.
Mhm.
And so then when we did negotiation, and for the first time ever, we were negotiating with all of the providers. And what we did in the negotiation is lay out a methodology that if they hadn't got a rate increase since 1920, we applied a 2 to 3%.
Now, not the year 1920,
Fiscal
2019, 2020.
20 fiscal year.
Everybody had the same look on
Yeah,
He said, you're only going back
Impressive
to.
records for them.
their,
really
you did a
sorry.
great search.
Did a great job.
My great grandfather was a commissioner.
That's
And on the horse and buggy. But we negotiated with them. And our challenge has been between both departments. How do we do our best? How are we good stewards to the county
Right.
while also not hurting our network,
Yes,
right? And what can they live with? Because providers were coming out with 20, 30, 40% rate
right,
increases, and then we had to work that down, but do it at a point where they wouldn't walk away from the table and say, well, we're just not gonna serve Lawrence County kids. And I think as a team, we've been successful.
Yes.
That's the front end,
Yes.
that's the front end of the change that's going on right now. There are fewer beds and more people that need them right now. So
Right.
It's advantage service providers right now.
absolutely.
All right, any additional questions or comments?
No.
I will take a motion to approve 222 through 232.
So moved.
Second. Motion second, for discussion, having none, question on the motion, Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you, good work, guys, appreciate all the
Thank
work.
you guys so
gentlemen.
much.
Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you.
Now, you hit me with this game.
Up next, 233. This has been approved by the solicitor. It's been reported recently that the Polaris Equity Group has acquired the Elwood City Hospital. They're going to turn that facility back to productive use, which we are certainly thankful for. However, as a part of that acquisition, they went to all three tax sue bodies. I believe were the last to be approached and negotiated. I want to say it was a 50% reduction on the back property taxes owed. Which when you consider we were getting none of those
Nothing.
taxes,
Correct.
as of just a couple months ago, we're certainly glad to be recouping some of that loss, and even more glad to see that facility return to productive use for the citizens of Elwood City and for Lawrence County. So they'll be making a one-time lump sum payment of $170,547.83 to us on or before August 31, 2022, which in turn will satisfy all of the back taxes still owed on that piece of property.
Yes.
So we're just glad that it's being returned to productive use, and we're glad that they were willing to pay at least a portion of those back taxes owed, because otherwise we just simply would not get the
Right.
money out at all, any of it. And they've been doing the same with Elwood and Elwood Electric for that matter.
Very good.
So, questions, comments on it?
The borough manager in Elwood City deserves a good deal of credit. He's been on top of this, has been devoting a lot of hours to this matter. I'm sure that the borough solicitor has as well. So I'm glad to see this. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Not that for you. I'll take a motion to approve 233.
So moved.
Second. A motion second, any further discussion, hearing none. Question on the motion, Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. 234. Actually, it's 2 now. This is some unanticipated funds that were deposited in the Marcellus Legacy Revenue Account. We use that account at this point pretty much solely for the maintenance of our parks. With the storm that happened the other day, as well as some of the capital investments that we're making at Quaker Falls to minimize the risk of additional falls. We need to, we receive some anticipated revenue, we need to account for that revenue and then account for the expense, which is going to be used to, number one, clear Stafford Bike Trail after the massive storm that we had the other day, as well as service some of our match for some of the safety improvements we're making out of Quaker. Questions, comments on that?
No.
Hearing none, I'll take a motion to approve 234.
So moved.
Second. Motion second, any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion, Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. 235, this is what Amy talked about earlier, just moving some money out of the ARPA, it's all within the ARPA fund.
Yeah.
From contingency in the ARPA fund to small business grants in the ARPA fund, moving that money around allows us to pay out those businesses.
Mhm.
Questions, comments on that? Dan, you look confused.
Yeah, well, no, I think I'm all right. I'm all right. Yep, I just have to look ahead and I'm no longer confused,
All right,
at least for the next 10 seconds. Thank you.
so I'll take a motion to approve 235.
So moved.
Second. Motion is second, any further discussion? Hearing none, question on the motion, Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. 236 is $10,000, public safety, moving from maintenance. For some additional context here, the public safety has effectively two funds. One is EMS,
Yes.
which is our general fund. The second is their own designated 911 fund, which is where the state revenue for 911 comes into, and it's actually more heavily audited than most of our other funds. We have to report that to PEMA as well as our external auditors. PEMA has changed the chart of accounts out of that fund numerous times in the past couple of years. As a result, it's a little difficult to budget because we don't know in certain instances what monies need to be taken out of what line item in the new chart of accounts. And so there's going to be some money movement within that fund as we figure out what gets paid out what for PEMA's reporting purposes. So what we're doing here, we're just transferring $10,000 from maintenance radio repair systems to maintenance repairs of contracts. It's for the same purpose of what it was going to be expended for. It just has to come out of a different line item per PEMA requirements. Questions on that? 236, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion, Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. 237 is again a simple one for voluntary transference and commissioner's contingency, $5,000 of voluntary contingency. There's some overages in that department and some of the various line items. So we're just getting that voluntary's office ready to start moving some money around to accommodate needs in the office. Questions, comments on that?
No.
Take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
A motion second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next up, our admin transfers. First on, we're moving $1,000 from jail contingency to jail advertising. That will help pay for what we talked about a little bit
Right.
earlier in terms of advertising, cost of advertising for those bids. And please stop me at any point if you have any questions. Public Defender's Office moving $40 from contingency to their attorney's fees. Unusual amount of bills from other counties to represent our parolees in other counties. God love our parolees. Rick Russo moving some money from his contingency to maintenance to cover maintenance agreement for copiers. Rick Russo moving some money from contingency that they had to with the move, the new office, they had to order new letterhead envelopes, business cards, address stamp, et cetera, so that any mail that goes out comes back to the appropriate office building once that move is officially made. Public Defender, there's a minor increase in some law book prices, $23 moving from their contingency to their subscriptions. We do try to budget down to the dollar here.
Absolutely.
Public Safety, this looks like, I believe this is coming out of EMA, but they're moving it from EMA contingency to travel and training. They obviously do a number of trainings in that department, which is unlike most other departments where they have to travel around quite a bit. You have that combined with gas prices, you're seeing an increase in travel and training costs. Sheriff, he's moving $15,000 from contingency to vehicle expenses, gas.
Just to show that the county government is not immune from the rate of inflation. We're affected by it just like everybody else.
Absolutely. Courts, I guess this is it. We're moving some money from the court contingency to court material and supplies to cover some of the specifically juror box chairs for the new courtroom 5 facility. The other half of the money is coming out of the judge's discretionary. Jail moving from their contingency fund $335 to medical expenses and $40 to postage to cover some unanticipated expenses out of those line items. CYS, invoices were not paid in prior years, so we're moving some money from promising practices to contracted services, $30,000. That's everything.
That's it.
Questions, comments on A through K in the admin transfers? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to approve admin transfers A through K.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, second, any further discussion? Hearing none, question on the motion, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carries. We still have the resolution on the table. I think we should be able to vote on that probably by the end of the month. We're still checking some things out on that one. But we'll keep that on the table unless either of you have any objection. And ordinances, none. Announcements, we kept it to an hour.
That's not bad.
That ain't bad.
That's not bad at all.
Very good.
Next commissioners meeting will be on Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022 in this room at 10 o'clock. Prison board meeting tomorrow on August 17th and retirement board meeting, thanks Dan, immediately following this meeting. Actually, probably whenever Sarah, I don't know if Sarah's here yet. I haven't seen her walking around, but whenever Sarah gets here, we'll call the retirement board meeting. Any additional or public comments?
I commend you for running this as quickly as you did, considering all that we have. It's a very nice job.
I do have if I could add, just something in closing. We had spoken earlier just about the RIDC project, and I will look right out to the audience and implore those involved with this process and these meetings with the Schick family, with their solicitors, with RIDC, to really take into consideration that impact that this will have on our county to move something forward. And I know everybody's doing their best to get this accomplished, but as you stated earlier, we are in the 11th hour, if that's the proper terminology. We are at that last ditch effort. And I would like for everybody to dig in and do their best and really open up their minds to just see the big picture of what this can do for Lawrence County, and know that we as commissioners, 1,000% behind the project. You know, Dan being on the board with RIDC, myself with economic development, we just need to do our best to move forward with this. And I just implore those that are involved to really move on this, because it's something that we will certainly change the landscape of Lawrence County. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other new business to be brought before the board? Seeing none, we will adjourn the Lawrence County Board of Commissioners, just under an hour.
Come upstairs, I'll be right back.
Okay. Dan, walk upstairs.
No,
Don't run.
I should run.
Yeah.